What is Bride Abide? Is it a band? No. Is it a church? No. A ministry? Not really. I think it's actually much simpler than that. My wife Amanda and I have this deep desire to see the bride of Christ come together to simply abide in Him. Fellowship is good, but what we're really after is community around the presence of God. Fellowship around the presence of God. God made all this bride abide stuff super clear during a pretty intense season and a powerful encounter on New Year's Day 2017. During the final months of 2016, I was just doing life. I was spending time with the Lord. I was even hearing His voice, but it was just one of those seasons that was dry. I was even considering stepping down from the worship team. In a morning Bible study at work, we were told to meditate on the word follow. But as much as I tried to focus on the word follow, I just kept hearing fallow in my head and in my heart. I was trying to focus on follow, but Holy Spirit kept impressing upon me the word fallow. It turns out that fallow ground is the ground that's not planted for a season. This process is imperative for the ground to renew its nutrients so it can produce crops long term. So there it was. I had my answer. I was to take a season of rest to renew my nutrients so I can continue to serve and produce a good crop long term. But Holy Spirit had a different interpretation, and it wasn't this fluffy, restorative, fallow ground word that I thought it was. A couple weeks went by. I'd been praying about it. I shared it with my wife. We were praying about it together. I shared it with my pastor. He was praying about it. I hadn't fully decided that I was going to actually step down from the worship team. One night, while waiting on the Lord with a friend of mine, God spoke to me clear as day and shared with me His interpretation of fallow ground. The words I heard Him speak to me in my spirit were, "Where ministry becomes the focus, you are on fallow ground." I was shocked. I was like, what does that even mean? I'm sitting there. I wasn't even thinking about fallow ground, and here He comes out with the answer, with the interpretation. I'm just sitting there waiting on the Lord, and here it comes. Bang. Where ministry becomes the focus, you're on fallow ground. And I'm thinking, God, I thought fallow ground was this restorative word. I'm going to get some time off. I'm going to restore my nutrients. I'm going to serve for the long term. What is going on? This feels like a correction. And it was. Because in my questioning, He said, fallow ground isn't less work. It's just less fruit. And son, I'm calling you to plant again. You still need to work fallow ground. You still need to plow it. It needs to be maintained, but it yields no crop. And when ministry becomes a focus, we're working really hard, but we're not bearing any spiritual crop. As Christians, we know this in our head, but our tendencies are always to return back to trying to do things in our own strength. This fallow ground word was totally a correction from the Lord, but it was so loving at the same time. And it was an invitation to return to abiding in Him. Instantly, this winter season started to shift, but spring broke out on New Year's Day, 2017. We were in the middle of leading worship on Sunday, January 1st, where one of my pastors, who I love dearly and respect completely, stopped everything. She took the mic, stopped us mid-song, mid-chord progression, and said, "Somebody turn the lights on. Stop. Somebody turn the lights on." She proceeded to walk up on the stage and stand right next to me. In short, she said that the Lord was about to stretch me, and if I was obedient, I would receive a download of supernatural creativity. I just remember standing there so scared, saying, no, please don't make me do this, Pastor. Having like our own little internal conversation right up there where no one could hear us. I'm like, no, please don't make me do this. She wasn't going to be moved. She said, "I want you to sing a brand new song to the Lord right now." She said, "Look out at the congregation. This is your family. Who are you afraid of here?" And as I looked out, I remember seeing everybody's face just staring at me. They were all just jarred out of the place of worship, and now they're just looking to see what's going to happen next. I remember even considering singing one of the songs that I had written and never shared with anybody, because how would they know, right? I just made it up on the spot. But I was, of course, instantly convicted. I knew I couldn't do that. And so I remember just putting my hands up on my head when I realized there was no way out. There was no way back. I couldn't turn anywhere. I couldn't get out of this. It was only forward. I remember putting my hands on my head, closing my eyes, and saying, "God, help me." From then, I just came down, I struck one chord, I opened my mouth, and He instantly filled it with this declaration. "This is the year of refreshing. He's pouring out on you. He's pouring out on you. This is a year of refreshing. He's making all things new. Oh, he's making all things new. The Spirit of God comes rushing in the room, and the whole place just crescendos into this celebration as we all, me included, obviously all of us, just receiving from the Lord this refreshing on the first of the year. It was by far one of the most profound encounters I ever had with the Lord, and only a few short days later, he gave me direction on what to do next. I felt like the Lord was calling Amanda and I to record and share a completely spontaneous time of worship and prayer once a week. There was only one rule. You can't sing anything that you've ever heard or sung before. It had to be completely real, raw, authentic, honest, fresh in the moment with the Lord. The purpose of recording and sharing it was never to promote the fact that, hey, look at us, we're having intimate, quiet time with the Lord. Are you? Or anything like that. It was to invite other people into that time, into that spontaneous and honest time with the Lord, regardless of wherever they were and regardless of whenever it was. The purpose was, and still is, to share real, honest, genuine, raw, spontaneous, and sometimes ugly times of worship and prayer before the Lord. Missed notes, out of key, who cares? We recorded and shared the first spontaneous time of worship and prayer on January 23rd, 2017, and people started listening. People I didn't think ever would listen to it ever in a million years started listening and worshiping the Lord through it and because of it and along with it. A few weeks in, we invited a dear friend to come and play piano. And then after that, we invited a few other people to come and join us, other friends of ours. And week after week after week, the presence of God was just so rich and real and tangible in our house. And song after song after song kept pouring out spontaneously, prophetically, full songs just coming out of this real, intimate, and raw time with the Lord. And in about a 3-week period, I think I wrote about 5 or 6 songs, all of which came out of that spontaneous time of worship. These songs defined everything that the Lord was doing in this season in our lives and in our families' lives and in our friends' life and in our church's life. I just knew it. We had to record it, and quickly. But it wasn't going to be like most recordings. Everything kept building. The fallow ground word, the New Year's Day breakthrough, the spontaneous worship and prayer, all the songs, and now the recording. In the midst of all this, I received a prophetic word from a father-like figure in our church. He came up to me and he has this really long beard. He's just a really cool guy. And he said, "Are you familiar with Obed-Edom?" And I wasn't going to lie to him. I didn't know who Obed-Edom was. And he basically said, "You should get familiarized with Obed-Edom because the Lord is visiting you like he visited Obed-Edom. And he's visiting your family like he visited Obed-Edom's family." So check out Obed-Edom if you haven't before. The word was so accurate because the Lord was showing up in our house and we were having encounters with him in our house, and he was marking me and he was marking our family in our house. And for this reason, we decided to record the album live as part of a live worship night. We invited friends, we invited family, we invited our congregation to just come and worship the Lord. And maybe we would catch some tracks for a recording at the same time. But the primary focus was, let's come in the presence of the Lord in our house where we've been having these spontaneous times of worship and prayer. And let's just blow it up. Let's just sing these songs back to the Lord and record them and hope we get something that's usable. One take. We titled the album Obed-Edom. At the time of recording this video, the album's probably in the mastering process and is set to be released in July of this year, 2017. So now we're kind of just standing out here on the edge of this move of God, so excited and so expectant on what exactly it is he's going to do next. Whatever it is, we're just going to keep abiding in him. So join us. Check out our website, brideabide.com. Listen to the spontaneous worship and prayer sets that we post every single week. Grab 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 of your friends and start your own time before the Lord. Get together with your friends and have community, have fellowship, but have it around the presence of God. Just encounter the Lord with your friends. Just go after God together. You don't need to be professionals to encounter God, because ultimately, Bride Abide is the call to action to the church, to the bride of Christ, his precious gift that he paid the precious price for, to simply come and abide in him. And we
insist, come on, lift it up, on your nearness. We submit to Holy Spirit.